In 2024, the United States ran a goods trade deficit of a staggering $1.21 trillion.
It's a number so big, it's almost hard to comprehend.
Right. And it's an all-time high. It completely dominates the political conversation. And you always hear the same promise, no matter who's running.
We'll fix it.
Exactly. More tariffs, better deals. We're going to bring that number down. We'll export more than we import.
And, that promise, it makes perfect sense on the surface. But there's a really inconvenient truth buried under all of that.
What if we can't fix it?
What if it's not a policy failure at all? What if?
Yeah.
What if that deficit is actually a structural requirement for the entire global financial system?
That's the paradox we're diving into today, the U.S. dollar is. I mean, it's the most powerful economic tool on Earth. It's the world's reserve currency.
But that very power seemed to demand these huge, crippling deficits year after year. It's a contradiction.
Okay, let's unpack this.
What we're talking about is something called the Triffin dilemma. It's a concept from an economist who saw this whole trap forming over 60 years ago.
A structural trap.
Yes, exactly. Buried so deep in the foundations of the system that trying to escape it could bring the whole thing crashing down.
And it really did take a prophet to see this coming. Tell us a bit about Robert Triffin.
Robert Triffin, he was a Belgian-American economist, and his analysis was so prescient, it's almost hard to believe.
This was back in the 50s, right?
Yes.
Huh.
His big moment was in 1959. He testified before the U.S. Congress, and then he put it all down in his 1960 book, Gold and the Dollar Crisis.
Okay, so to really get what he was warning about, we need to quickly set the scene. Bretton Woods, 1944. What was the system he was analyzing?
Bretton Woods was, it was a global agreement that basically ran the post-war economy. At its core, it pegged the U.S. dollar to gold.
At a fixed rate?
A fixed rate of $35 per ounce. That was the anchor. So other countries would hold dollars as their reserves, but not just because they trusted the paper.
They just trusted that the paper was backed by something real.
Exactly. They trusted America's promise that you could, on demand, convert those dollars into actual gold. It made the dollar as good as gold.
That sounds incredibly stable. So where's the fatal flaw? What was the contradiction that Triffin saw?
Well, his logic was devastatingly simple. As the global economy started to boom after the war and trade was exploding, the world needed more money to make it all happen.
It needed more dollars, more liquidity, as economists say.
Right. And the only way to supply that liquidity, to get more dollars out into the world, was for the U.S. to run deficits. Dollars had to flow out.
So America was essentially acting as the world's central banker, letting money flow out of its borders to grease the wheels of global trade.
Precisely. But here's the trap, the fatal contradiction.
Okay.
Every single dollar held by another country was a potential claim on America's gold reserves in Fort Knox.
Ah.
So the more dollars we sent out to keep the world economy growing, the more these claims piled up against a fixed, finite supply of gold.
It's like a bank that has to keep printing IOUs to keep the local economy running, but knows the IOUs will eventually outnumber the actual cash in the vault.
That's a perfect analogy. It's a ticking clock, not a stable system.
Yeah.
And Triffin predicted, he said eventually foreign dollar holdings will exceed the gold backing them and the whole system will collapse.
So let's bring this forward to today, because the dilemma is still here, right? Even without gold.
Yeah.
The world's demand for dollars is just ferocious. Here's where it gets really interesting.
It is. The need for the dollar has barely changed. It is still, without a doubt, the world's reserve currency. And the world needs it for three main reasons.
Okay, what are they?
First, international trade. Roughly half of all global trade is still priced and settled in dollars.
Second.
Commodities. Oil, copper, you name it, priced in dollars. And third, and this is the big one, central bank reserves.
This is what other countries hold in their vaults to keep their own economies stable.
Exactly. And the dollar still makes up about 58% of all global foreign exchange reserves. It's a massive structural need for dollars to be available everywhere.
So the same dynamic Triffin saw is still in play. Those trillions of dollars have to get out of the U.S. somehow. And the main way they do that
Was through trade deficits. We buy more from the world than we sell to it. We pay in dollars, and those dollars become the world's liquidity.
Which brings us to the modern two-sided trap, the real core of the Triffin dilemma today.
Yes, it's a loop with frankly, two awful outcomes.
Lay them out for us, because this is where you see why just fixing the deficit is basically impossible.
Okay, scenario one. Imagine those politicians actually succeed. America balances its trade tomorrow. We stop running deficits.
The dollar outflow stops.
It slows to a trickle, or it stops completely. The world would suddenly face a catastrophic dollar shortage, a global liquidity crisis.
No money to settle debts, finance trade.
It would be an immediate global economic heart attack.
Okay, so that's a disaster. What's scenario 2?
Well, scenario 2 is what we're doing now. America continues running these huge, persistent deficits to supply the world with the dollars it needs.
But in doing so, we accumulate massive external debt. We're trading away real assets and goods for our own IOUs, essentially.
Precisely. As those foreign claims on U.S. assets, mostly our treasury bonds, just pile up higher and higher, it slowly undermines global confidence in the dollar itself.
So the very thing we do to provide stability in the short term creates massive instability in the long term.
It's like you're forced to slowly water down your own stock just to keep the company running. It's an impossible choice.
And Triffin's prediction about this, it didn't take long to come true, did it?
No, not at all. Just 12 years. By 1971, it was over. Foreign dollar holdings were far, far greater than the U.S. gold supply. The math just didn't work anymore.
And that led to the Nixon shock. President Nixon goes on TV, ends the convertibility of dollars to gold, and boom.
The Bretton Woods system collapses overnight. And this is the crucial point. The dollar was no longer backed by gold. It was now backed by, well, by trust.
Trust in what?
Trust in U.S. institutions, the power of our economy, and most importantly, trust in the safety and liquidity of the U.S. Treasury market. The dilemma didn't go away, it shape-shifted.
So what does that modern trap look like in terms of numbers today?
The numbers are staggering. Foreigners now hold $8.67 trillion in U.S. Treasury securities. They aren't just investing. They're using our national debt as their primary global savings account.
And our deficits feed that beast.
Absolutely. The current account deficit for 2024 was $1.13 trillion, about 3.9% of GDP. We have to keep supplying this demand. I mean, 88% of all foreign exchange transactions still involve the dollar.
This situation led the French finance minister back in the 60s to coin a famous phrase for it.
Valéry Giscard d'Estaing.
He called it America's exorbitant privilege. What are the tangible benefits we get from this?
They are very real. First, we get to borrow at much lower interest rates because the whole world is a captive buyer for our debt. Second is something called seigniorage.
Can you break that down for us? It's a bit of a dense term.
It's just the difference between the cost to print a dollar, ink, and paper and the real goods we get for it. We're literally trading paper we print for cars, electronics, oil. It's a huge structural transfer of wealth to the U.S.
And the third benefit?
Immense geopolitical power. We control the plumbing of the global financial system, which lets us impose powerful financial sanctions.
So that's the privilege. But the other side of that coin is the exorbitant cost. And this is the part that I think gets lost, a hidden price that's paid domestically.
Yes, this is the somber part of the story. All that constant high global demand for dollars keeps our currency artificially strong.
And a strong dollar.
A strong dollar is poison for your own manufacturing base.
How does that work day to day for a factory in, say, Ohio?
Well, if the dollar is strong, your exports, the things you make here, become incredibly expensive for anyone else to buy. That tractor made in Iowa costs way more in euros or yuan.
And at the same time?
At the same time, the strong dollar makes imports from other countries incredibly cheap for us to buy. It creates a structural pincer movement against American manufacturers. They can't compete on price, not at home, not abroad.
So because we are the world's reserve currency, we are basically forced into a situation that guarantees our manufacturing sector will struggle.
It's a recipe for structural deindustrialization. I mean, look at the numbers. They're heartbreaking. In 1979, U.S. manufacturing employment peaked, 19.6 million jobs.
That was 22% of the entire workforce.
22%. Today, we're at around 13 million jobs. That's less than 10%.
And the really sharp decline was more recent.
It was. Between just 2000 and 2017, America lost 5.5 million manufacturing jobs. Think about that. And something like 78,000 manufacturing plants closed between 2000 and 2014. The social and political fallout from that, we're still living with it.
The Rust Belt.
It's a direct consequence. This isn't just an abstract financial concept. It has a staggering human cost.
So it boils down to this brutal trade-off.
That's right. The source material puts it bluntly. The world got stability and liquidity. America got cheap imports, and American workers paid the price.
Okay, so if the cost is so high, if we have to sacrifice our own industrial base, the obvious question is, why doesn't someone else take over? Why don't we pass this burden to another country?
Because nobody wants it. The requirements are just, they're too demanding, The political sacrifices are too great.
People always point to China. But their currency, the yuan, is only about 2.2% of global reserves.
Right, and for China to really challenge the dollar, they'd have to do two things they are completely unwilling to do. First, they'd have to completely open their capital markets, allow money to flow freely. Beijing would never give up that much control.
And the second thing,
Critically, they'd have to start running massive trade deficits themselves. They would have to become the world's consumer. Their entire economic model is the opposite. It's built on exporting and accumulating surpluses. They refuse to get caught in the Triffin Trap.
what about the euro? It's a major currency.
But it has a fatal flaw. It lacks unified fiscal backing. You have one currency, but you have 20 different governments with 20 different budgets and priorities. That creates constant political fragmentation and crisis. It doesn't have the unified stability the world needs. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the deepest irony of all.
Go on.
The big export countries, Germany, Japan, China, they depend on America running these deficits.
Yeah.
They need us to be the buyer of last resort. That's how they fuel their export machines and accumulate all those dollars.
So they complain about American deficits, but their own economic models rely on them continuing forever.
Everyone is trapped in the system together. It's the ultimate global codependency.
So what does this all mean? We started with Triffin's warning from 65 years ago, and it seems the verdict is that this massive deficit we have isn't a policy failure, it really is a structural trap.
That's right. The exorbitant privilege of the dollar comes with an exorbitant cost. We get the financial power, but we pay for it with the hollowing out of our industrial base.
And we are seeing a very slow erosion. The dollar share of global reserve has dropped, right? From 72% in 2001 down to 58% today.
It's slow, but it's real. And the debt we've accumulated is staggering. So the real question isn't if this contradiction can be fixed. It can't. Not without some kind of massive global reset.
The real question is how long it can last.
Exactly. How long can the system endure before the mountain of debt causes confidence to finally crack, forcing a resolution on us that could be just as painful as what happened in 1971? The Triffin dilemma is really the original sin of dollar hegemony.
We're running a global system that was, in a way, designed to fail from the very beginning.
The bill is coming due.